and we'll just go ahead.
Could you just confirm for me who's in the room? It's hard to see with the camera moving around.
So we have Gary Jackman, Susan Downing, myself, and Mike Steely is online for this meeting.
Great, thank you.
All right.
And there's 2 members of the public.
Yeah, actually they're delegates.
Yeah.
So I think, Alana, do you have the information on the delegates?
I've got Paula Bailey. That's all I have.
Oh, okay, and I'm sorry, Thomas?
Thomas Solberg.
What?
It's Solberg, Sohlberg, Solberg.
All right, good. So call the meeting to order. I can see here, 7:03. And traditional lands acknowledgement. We acknowledge and respect the indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. The agenda, I had one small addition at the end, 7.5, invasive plant query. So we'll just add that to the agenda. So motion to adopt the agenda is amended, Susan. And you have the minutes from the July 7th meeting, so we'll simply say they've been received. And now we do have for okay. We have intelligence. So go ahead, please.
Okay, hi, I'm Paul. And I want to thank you for inviting us to come here tonight. We're here to ask about accepting the community center in the Ball Diamond in case we have to evacuate the campground for an emergency situation. The terrible windstorm the end of May, trees down in the campground. It was quite an ordeal for our hosts and the people camping there, and it just made us realize we need a proactive plan in case such an emergency were to happen when there was a lot of people or some other kind of emergency. We've started to kind of put some improvements in place, which I'll let Thomas speak about.
Yeah.
Got a digital weather vane.
Weather vane, yeah, that we've installed on top of the office room, which allows us to digitally see the wind speed and which also communicates with my phone. And now we can now watch the wind and we can see the sustained wind at the different speeds, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers. And we're starting to put together a plan for what is the action we take at the different wind speeds. And because the last big hailstorm that we had, there would have been time to evacuate, but there wasn't really a protocol in place. We didn't really know what the wind speed was. And so it's very difficult to tell the difference between 50 kilometer and 100 kilometer because the trees are pretty much doing the same thing. So this is really a great way to really catch the leading play. But we realize that if we get to evacuate people and preferably to get into their vehicles and drive out, we need to bring them somewhere where it's safe, where they do park, where there aren't any trees. And that's why this field would be ideal. It's close by, but it's locked. And so it would be enough, right at the front of the field. But if we have a full campground, then there's, it easily be 50, 60 vehicles, that's not enough space at the front. So yeah, that would be great to be able to have access to the field in an emergency. So
that's what we're here to talk about.
So it's not so much the community center, but the field, but it's both.
But yeah.
Yeah, because this will give you bathroom facilities, washrooms.
And if people had to shelter overnight and they weren't able to be in their trailers, they would need to be somewhere in shelter.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I think a long time ago, this building was an emergency kind of shelter, I think. Yeah, but that's before my time. And in the last few years, we really, for a while, we had emergency preparedness represented from here, but we don't right now. So, this would have to go through, the people that manage the park, the RDCK staff that manage the park, and the RDCK Emergency Preparedness Office. So, now that I have an idea of sort of what you're looking at, I can follow up, but I think I've got your email, Paula, so I can just send you the name of
Yeah.
the contact.
So,
That would be my.
and I think that's good, but, and I'm not being rude, I just started an email to Carrie Gaynor, that's
Sure.
taking some time. So is your email still keepalienmoveup.ca? So if you want, what I thought, Gerald, might be just as easy, because two things you need, whether you can use the field. It'd be good if there's a protocol for when you move people to a certain wind speed. So it's all right. I could just send this and me, copying Paula, Carrie Gaynor, saying, hi, we had a delegation to the RC on mission management today, asking if they, things, they can use the field, they can emergency instrument. And two, if they have guidance for,
Yeah.
because we know from some of the events, like when the children were killed down in Boundary Country, we've seen events in the States, like medicine trees and stuff. And pretty sure there's going to be protocols for anyone who runs a campground on the large scale. And you might as well use what they use.
Yeah.
Is your anemometer or your wind speed measured at height of the trees or anything? Or
It's not at half height of the trees, but yeah, so that might
that'd be part of the guidance.
Right.
Right, and I noticed too, that it's wireless, so you can go, but I think I'm talking about the pavilion as well.
Yeah.
But I just needed to get something up there right away, just like had something like that. There's no point in measuring the wind speed and then it's not measuring the correct speed,
Yeah, whatever any other entity would use, because depending what buildings and what is around the ground, if that's okay, I can do that.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, and so I won't try and finish this because I and that. So, but I can finish it. Yeah.
So the curiosity, we did have the reach wind come up, what, a couple of days ago?
Yes.
How fast did you measure for that?
That was 38 kilometer an hour wind gusts. And we find that this happened, I think, storm. We had winds and sort of reached up over 46 kilometers. And that was enough for me to then evacuate everybody that was in their tents. They just had them walk down to the beach. But at that point, we had branches that were falling down, and I flew it out with pose of risk. It didn't feel like it, unless it was over 50 kilometer mark, it was necessary to create the volcano drum. But it was fine. Everybody sat on the beach for an hour, and then died down. Everybody went back, and they helped to drag the branches out of the way, and back to camping.
Great. Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we would certainly support using this building or, using the field.
Yeah, probably be a getting keys that are available
Well,
to them
yeah.
all the time instead of them having to reach someone.
There's
to say,
only
"Hey."
one key that you need for the one game. Okay. The one chain. Mike, did you have a comment?
Is wind the only event that you guys would foresee the need to move people out?
No, they could also, fire. It could be, earthquake. It could be, there's a whole slew of other things that they necessitate a place of refuge, right? And so, even if the power went out, I mean, when we had that windstorm, the power was out for almost 5 days at the campground, and so because we weren't considered to be essential, I'm a lot of other places were being hooked up to four wheelers, so and that's just there's no hot water, it was very difficult. And so yeah, I guess that's a great question, and I definitely see the need for having a place like this in a whole slew of other emergencies.
I think we just want to make sure that, sort of the campground emergency plan aligns with any broader community emergency plan. Hypothetically, if we were moving a whole bunch of people into the community center because the power was out, we want to make sure that it's not, I don't know, the plans match, as opposed to having a big kind of confusion.
Now, we don't have a plan in place right now. That's part of the emergency preparedness piece that
Correct.
is really missing right now, because we don't have a Riondel representative.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I support the use of the facility for the campground for sure. I just think we would want to be mindful that we're able to accommodate the broader community's needs as well.
Makes sense, and we thought maybe they're looking into a bigger overall plan, because we should have a big overall plan.
That is a question to be begged, yes.
Yeah,
But I do want to point out as well that's much more vulnerable in the short term, because they have nothing to fall back on. Whereas people, neighbors and basements and garages and tools and what I mean. So the campers that are from out of town, I mean, only their solution is to drive home. But if there's trees across the road, it's I'm not here to say that they're more important. I'm just saying they're more vulnerable in the short term. And absolutely, if there was a long-term emergency where the whole community would have to be looked after, then of course we would get in line with whatever that was.
Yeah, but I appreciate your concern, because I can think of at least 2 instances now where there have been maybe 2 or 3 needs to evacuate the campground because of high winds.
Right.
So there's a definite precedent. Yes,
Yeah.
this does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do we know, Gerald, would the outhouse, sorry, Gary, would the outhouse in the field there, would that accommodate larger usage?
I have no idea.
I think the key would be is if you tied in the parks manager like Kerry Gaynor, who I'm writing this to, they could arrange that. So I mean, they would know when it was last pumped, and if they know there's 120 people there and might be there for the whole day, 2 days. If there's danger limbs or danger trees that have to be assessed, they can just have a pump, I think. And
Right, it's right after the chili cook-off.
So I thought this email I was going to send is really just the 2 initial points, the evacuation of the campground during either a severe windstorm or a fire event. Because that's holding the trees raises concerns about both situations. Then also, do you have any guidance on what conditions would trigger the evacuation of the campground during the storm? And please contact Paula and Cheryl with advice or permissions. So that's just a conversation starter. Carrie looks after all of our outdoor parks trails.
Sorry,
Say night.
Hi, Alana Sherman just joined us.
Pardon me?
Oh, good. Sherman Horwood has just joined us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Any thoughts of getting your own small generator?
yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna get a backup for the office, so we have electricity and internet, and so that we'll at least have hot water and some power.
Yeah, somebody did lend us a little generator at that time, and it came in very, very useful. So, and yeah, we don't even need that big a generator.
Yeah.
No, for you. Here's
I just had one other question to you guys. So, for power outages here, do you guys have a backup generator? Does water operate here with electricity? Is it gravity fed here in the building, or?
yeah, there's
The water plant has a generator now, And so the water has to be treated or you're gonna boil water notice and it's gravity. So you'll get fine for water here. Septic is gravity. So the building though doesn't have emergency power. It's in the works. If you stay through the whole agenda. And this is part of the issue of a reception center. This building has had some ups and downs over recent years. A lot of upgrades. Now, as you know, so the closest official reception center that's been reviewed and evaluated is Yashram. And that is somewhere where several hundred people can potentially gather. They may not stay there. They can check in, identify if they need medication, clothing, food, get vouchers for certain things if you don't have enough cash. Never know what the situation is going to be wrong, like you said.
Yeah.
So you can get underway or you can shelter depending on the situation is. This building really will get back to the stands soon. But what soon? This year? Lots of rental and funding available right now to start doing some of these things.
Good. So,
Great.
yeah, no, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
You're a great part of our community.
And it's a campground full.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
yeah, we got,
We're having a pretty good year.
yeah.
Lots of weddings.
I think all other meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Well, that's our public on too, so
That was good.
we'll
That was good.
we'll go on to our whole business agenda here. Community center renovations. So the stuff of work is finished on the auditorium. Looks good. I was hoping that they might be able to use this flashing that we had in storage for under the roof line on the auditorium where there's this green wooden rim around the top, which really should be covered to prevent moisture getting into the wall. But unfortunately, what we have doesn't. Yeah. So that's something we should probably look at some point in the future is to cover that with appropriate flashing for long-term sustainability. Not an immediate concern. They also fixed the little roof over the stairs on the north side of the auditorium because that roof actually slopes down to the building and it was leaking into the wall there quite badly. So I think the kind of fix on that, we'll see how that works. Real concern. I did hire somebody, Lindsay McPhee, to do some trimming and pruning the front part here, the landscaping. She just spent part of the day doing that, just because that's the volunteer crew that did the cleanup here did a wonderful job, but then it just needed somebody to really go around and tidy things up, and she's good at that. So that's been done. A real concern is watering. We've lost 3 trees here because nobody's been really watering them. And this is where not having a garden club like we used to have hurts, because they would have done something. And right now we don't. It's really hard. And the other big factor is we only have one tap in the back of this building for the entire playground area, and it's just outside the main shed. So you need like 150 feet of hose just to get to the trees. So hopefully, what we're going to try and do is put a tap on the northwest corner of the auditorium where they park that that van right now, so that it's close to where it needs to be. But I don't know what the long-term solution is because it's really painful to lose trees. We lost 2 last year, and now we lost another one this year. And we did at one point buy these gators to put under the trees to soak them. They've disappeared.
Yeah.
So it's that's something we need to work on. I don't know if there are any volunteers in the community we can find love trees and would, sort of keep an eye on them in hot weather. I know Farley one year was hired to go around with a water tank on his back.
Yeah.
And it worked, right? But it's something, we need to do something. We need to plan.
Can Keith do that?
It's hard because he's got a lot of other duties.
Yeah.
And it's just tricky. Anyway, maybe Keith and somebody, but we'll just need to give that some thought, or if somebody knows of somebody in town that, like I say, loves trees and, would maybe help. But we do need a better water connection. Absolutely. Out back there. And that's not to talk about the field, which is ridiculous. So
Have
anyway,
we can,
Mike.
sorry, have we considered not having trees? Like those planted trees that need maintenance like that? Like, is that just don't have them?
I just see it strikes me as surrender.
Yeah. Are you suggesting time?
Oh,
Yeah, just the secrets.
We're just gonna close the door that band is practicing.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Drought tolerant trees might be an objective down the road, but it does make sense to say big trees you have now.
yeah.
Playground until maybe you can transition to something else.
well, we only have 2 trees there right now. I like the idea. I think trees are wonderful. If there's a way of guaranteeing that we don't lose them. Anyway, just awareness thing. We'll just have to think about that.
Yeah.
Keith is, I think, going to set up some kind of sprinklers in the front here. Timer, so we can at least get this area watered a bit.
But we can't do it with the trees.
No. Well, like I say, just
How expensive are the gators?
good question. I can't remember what they cost. Not hugely expensive. You're thinking maybe we should just get some more?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's check that out. Do you want to look that up?
Yep.
Yeah, look it up, find out how much.
You can paint them some ungodly color so that if they disappear, they'll be obvious.
My father-in-law spray painted all his carpentry tools orange, right? Way back, like in the 50s or something. Everything was bright orange. If anyone had John Chum's tools, they showed up pretty fast.
So I think that's it. All the other projects, the re-siding of the concession stand, the kitchen, the entrance door, those are all on hold because it's all in negotiations between CDT and RDCK staff at the moment. And I'm just hoping it's moving forward because people have put a lot of time and effort into planning this stuff. And it would be good to follow up. It's nice when things actually happen. All right, playground update. So we now have this brand new scoop of handicap swing in the playground. The only thing it's missing is the safety fill, which I believe are wood chips, and I think they're in Preston. They just have to be delivered and spread. So hopefully that will happen probably in the next week or so, and that will be all set. So, we had to take the logs around the playground out because they're all rotted. So those will be hauled away. And again, the plan is to get some new ones in and put in. It's been weeded. It's fairly tidy and neat now. But again, that's one of those things that doesn't fit in anybody's job description, really. We really rely on volunteers to actually do that kind of work.
Yeah.
To keep things. Emergency generator. I just sent an email to mine, the emergency office, suggesting that maybe if they have funding and if Caslo Infonet Society has some funding, maybe we can put together some kind of proposal to get a generator for this building. Brandon Turlock's estimate was $50,000,
Generator.
which is, I think, reasonable for a building like this. It wouldn't, operate the entire building, but it would operate the kitchen, the washrooms, the auditorium, hallway, and it would, in case of power loss in the winter time, we wouldn't have to worry about pipes freezing. I think it would have here. If there is funding out there, we should,
Mm-hmm.
we should use it. Even if we have to contribute some to that. So I'll see what Maya's response is, and we'll just have to keep working at this one. Let's see where we can go. I'll talk some more with Stuart Durning when I see him here next time. All right, under new business, rental. So we have our rental rates, which I think are pretty reasonable. Basically we look at, $50 for an afternoon or like for any really, and 100. But my feeling is that the community supports this through their taxes already quite substantially. So we don't want to nail them on rental fees on top of that. I think more than we have. So that's what we've been operating under. And, we've had a couple of wedding type things this year and a couple other room rentals. And nobody's complaining about fees. We also rent out chairs and tables. We just earned $140 for a weekend rental of chairs and tables. So that's nice income on the side.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's the stuff that's in the basement. Doesn't get used anyway. So it's good that that's accessible. But the one issue that did come up was that request, that rushed request we had for this sort of health related session. And that's where I didn't really know.
Yeah.
It didn't fit in with anything that I had dealt with previously as far as rentals go. Like we rented to the health society, and we rented to the geothermal people. And all that stuff seems really obvious. Just public information, or the vaccine clinics where it's organized for interior health. But here we had an individual doing sort of a medical kind of thing, and
Was he any clearer on that? Exactly what it was?
they backed off immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as I asked questions. And then went for another venue, but it is something, I wanted us to talk about a little bit. Maybe it might never happen again, but it's good to have some idea of what our policy is as far as vetting renters for this building.
That's a difficult
Aren't-
question.
I'm sorry, Sharman, you go ahead.
Right.
Oh, no, Sharman, you go.
Yeah. Yeah, are we in any danger of being liable if it's a silly or something that is damaging to,
If we offer, they go through the commission, and the commission says, great idea. I think we would have some sort of liability.
Yes.
If it's the Riondel Community Association
That's different.
authorizing it, then it would come under their insurance covered sort of, and they would have responsibilities. But
That that to me, it means that we need to know what is any purpose it's going to be used for.
Yeah, what are the parameters of
Yeah.
the renters, the
Well, we
Respective
don't
renters.
have any because we've never sort of had this kind of
Yeah,
questionable requests. It might have been totally legitimate, or,
Yeah.
you know, but I didn't, it made me nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, we just rent, basically, I think our policy is that we rent rooms for a public service of some kind.
Yeah.
You know, informational or medical and through the interior health, but where there's some kind of benefit to the community. For a workshop, for example, you know, to teach. You know, I don't know if we want to, you know, write a list of sort of those kinds of things.
Well, I think
Or-
the guidelines in the regional district's existing policy seem to capture most of what we might be concerned about.
Yeah, I sent you, well, there's this policy 500-0108. The policy manual, community services, parks and recreation, community services, fees and charges applies to all the regional district buildings.
Yeah.
And what's missing, and it's on a different tab here, on the fee structure you have here, essentially, this is very simplistic. Resident on resident, $100, $150, $200. It's very simplistic and makes sense for commonly what you see. Policy is much more extensive, and for the sort of reasons you raised concern. One, the first thing that you see in the policy on the public benefit is the whole policy is to improve health well-being of residents through subsidized recreational opportunities. That includes plain buildings. That's a lot better for your mind and your soul and your body than sitting on the couch alone, right? So it's all recreational. So the policy goes into great detail in several pages as to what are the benefits it was trying to achieve. And then how do we structure those benefits to meet the needs or accessibility of the majority of people. So there's lower rates for younger people. We've got incremental rates for, you know, swimming and all these different things. There's different rates for community use, private use, or commercial use. So one of your big gaps is you don't identify commercial use. Sounds like what you had was a request for commercial use.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants to make money, and they do, say they come here, look like they're going to stop in Lumbee, somewhere else, maybe in a Cusposit, and here, they may find they trump up 50 people in each location, pay who knows how much, $100, and they make a good amount of money having a venue that's big enough to make that money. It's a subsidized venue. So yeah, that's why the whole policy, several pages, identifies all the commercial use. The other side of the coin then is it a suitable and appropriate use? I know we're on a public meeting, and this is, so what are we putting? We had a request for something that was sort of labeled as a sex party. What it was like a couples meeting getting together, but they wanted to sound racy for use of the question room at the Western Rec Complex. So the idea was come out and meet people and have fun, and there's food and stuff like this. So it was a party, but the way it was phrased in the initial request raised a lot of eyebrows. So, well, you can call anything whatever you want, but is it lawful, right?
Yeah.
Is it,
it'd be lawful.
is it, the morality side of it is really, you know, it's different depending who you talk to. So that's why we have senior staff. So the gap in the fees and charges, is it commercial, private, or sort of for public benefit? And then we want to subsidize it on that spectrum that's in here. The other side of it, suitability of this facility, whatever activity, I would just put something that's a one-off to Tricia or Greg and say, wow, every request for something that's very unusual, we don't understand. They may have very quick advice. Say it doesn't look like it's a medical thing, that people come and they thought they're getting medical advice. Do we care? Yes, we always care. Are we liable? That's why we have a big organization with policies and senior managers that can shoot a question off to one of our your lawyers on standby all the time for various things. They get a clarification if they need in fairly short order. So reading this policy again, I think it covers most of the concerns, all the social benefit stuff, how you cure the costing, how you make the commercial people pay more than your base rate because that's to compensate for the subsidy. And then we have senior staff that can evaluate suitability of the activity. If you redo your fees and charges, you don't want it to be, what is it, 7 or 8 pages? 11 pages.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you may add 2 or 3 lines for commercial use, and then in your phone charges sheet, refer to this policy.
No, actually, it might even be part of our existing policy because we have charges for local residents and then non-local. And most commercial stuff, I believe, probably would be non-local, so it would have the higher rate for rentals.
Well, or it may be what you'd call private. It's not an open public thing. So, Riondel days were fun. And kids are too old to go to the cakewalk. We didn't do that this year.
Yes, we did.
We did.
Oh,
Our Jackman family didn't do that this year. But that's a very open public thing. And that might have a particular rate. But if somebody wanted a birthday party, similar, young people, parents, food, running around making noise, making music, that's a private use, and that's a higher fee. You could call it the same thing. Kids and their parents and families are having fun. So one's public and one's private.
Yeah.
And then the third tier is commercial. And the commercial, if somebody's going to make money off of this, don't be ashamed to charge them way more. But if you review the two in tandem, and maybe fill a couple gaps with 2 or 3 more lines.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just ask people to take a look at our fees again. Maybe I can find that document email to you.
This current policy,
Yeah.
I can send it again.
Oh,
I don't care too. Oh, sorry. Okay, you want this rental?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, well, I'll just, as a reminder, I'll just email them out.
Yeah, and then we can go a commercial rate. We can talk about the idea of a private rate. Then just fine tune that. I will send an email to Tricia probably asking about this one example that we struggle with. Get her perspective on that one. And yeah, that's probably just kind of a good start of just updating.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed fishy to me that they needed it immediately and they wouldn't tell us more about what they were doing.
I'm not sure. I said fine because it's just that I think they decided it was easier to look for an alternative than to
that's a
explain.
And I don't think the request came in from the actual outfit that wanted to rent it. I think they knew somebody who shot it off in a sort of a willy-nilly fashion. When you read about the folks that were doing or that wanted to do the clinic or whatever they were going to call it, they seem pretty legit. They've been around for a while and they're fairly well known over in the Lumbee area. But don't write this down, Alana. The fellow that put the request for doing things. I'm sorry, my phone's ringing at the same time and I'm sharing the tether. There. Anyways, the fellow that put the request in is known for shooting from the hip and sometimes doing requests quickly and without much forethought. Is that polite enough?
Yeah.
As long as Alana didn't write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll just take a second look at our rates and categories. But Gary, thanks for the breakdown of it.
Yeah.
So it's private, commercial, and
there's public use, wide open, private use, and then commercial use. Yes. Generally, the commercial charge.
Olivia. Like I said, I think we can be a little more flexible just because we really want to make it easy for local people to benefit from this building and facilities. All right, review of Riondel days. My impression was that it was great. The town was full of activity. Everything seemed to run pretty smoothly that I know of. It was great that we got RDC permission to use the field.
Ours didn't leave any ruts, did they?
No.
Our ground.
Yes.
We don't water that ground.
I think they had a dozen teams for the bocce.
Yeah, how far pits were going.
Yeah. And I just learned today that I think a local couple here is going to fix up our existing bocce pit so that they can have regular.
It's nice.
Yeah. And what I would like to do, maybe through the community association, is I'd like to do a grant for an outdoor carpeting for that bocce. I looked at artificial turf. It would cost $6,000 to put, which was the idea. It would be really nice to put artificial turf on that, or around $5,000 or $6,000. It would cost about $1,600 to put artificial to put up the carpeting there. You could put it down and roll it up for the winter. Doesn't have to sit out there.
Okay.
But I think it would make it far more attractive and it would deal with the weeds.
Is there any under the stage from the old carpet bowling? There's some in Boswell.
Well, no,
It never used to roll up when it was under the stage.
yeah, we have a really nice carpet bowling setup right here,
But,
but they used it.
but is there any old carpet bowling?
No,
It's pretty big.
no, no. But it's $1,600. I think it's worthwhile just asking for a grant. That's not outrageously expensive. And you could bolt it down to the existing frame, with 2x4s, and then just take it up in the winter. But it's because it's a nice pit. It's a nice bocce pit. It just, there's no way anybody's just playing the way it is. And
Joe Kiriko told us they played on dirt and gravel. I played on lumpy grass. Bocce's made to be a little rough.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be rough. And I was at one of the seniors' residence in Preston. They just put in 2 or 3
It's
really nice with artificial grass. So I don't know where they got that money, but I figure for us here, that it would really be attractive. Nice green outdoor carpet.
it wasn't FIFA approved turf.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why.
$1,000 a square foot.
Anyway, unless somebody has objections, I'm going to pursue that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Do you think there would be, would the regional district have any leftover turf or roll-ins from other projects or anything?
I've asked that in the past, and I've never gotten a response.
Okay.
Yeah,
Those regional district.
I've asked a couple of times.
I don't know if we use it.
Because that was my first thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
we get somebody stole artificial turf, but I could ask again. It wouldn't hurt to ask again. But yeah, I'll send an email. Yeah, it's like it costs us $1,000 to recover the pool stand, $1,600 for bocce.
Yeah.
All right. New streetlights. I did send an email to Ellen. I don't know Ellen's last name. Who's looking after streetlights now, saying that they should be given some thought when they're talking with Fortis about replacing our current streetlights with the newer ones to make sure that there's some consideration of light intensity and how bright these things are, just so that we don't get these streetlights that are shining brightly through people's windows. I think we've got the old lights we have here quite sort of gentle, they're not really heavy duty lighting, and if we could get some kind of LEDs that are, suitable, that's good. And I think the Cable Society, Mike, did you guys send in some thoughts about ideal lighting to Uli?
Well, I sent you the commission, I sent that note about the color temperatures and that survey that they did in the States somewhere that I can't remember off the top of my head. Because the lower color temperatures are, I believe, are the softer lights, like the sort of ambery lights that we have now. And the higher color temperatures are that sort of blinding whitish blue stuff that's like new headlights on cars kind of thing.
So, Mike, could you follow up with Ellen on this?
I can do that for sure.
Do you have her contact, or do you want me to email it?
I can. Well, if you send it to me again, Gerald, I'll be sure. I think I have it from the original thread way back, but if you don't mind, just shoot it to me and I'll get hold of them.
Great. Yeah, no, I think I'll do that. That's provided I can understand my notes after sitting here tonight. Right?
Ellen,
if you don't get anything, let me know.
Okay.
Ellen.
Yeah. SENYK.
SENYK. SENYK.
Yes.
SENYK. Ellen Sinning. And she's in environmental services now. I just looking, last time I talked to Uli about this was back early June. The only question we had at that time, there's lights that will dim through the day.
There's also lights that will actually sense people come, they won't be on unless they sense something coming along, and then they'll turn on.
So those programmable start going up thousands of dollars. So what I suggested really cost the basic light, as Mike points out, you get the different color ranges based, the intensity and what's less. The first LEDs that came out, every hotel wanted to look like they're green, and they put in these harsh white dense lights in rooms that travel slowly, which is ridiculous. Yeah, turn off the lights on. But the spectrum is quite choice. At that time, Uli had some preliminary costs. One thing that the preliminary costs are quite high if we want to do all of them at once. The one conversation I had as a follow-up was, what we could do is recommend a 5-year borrowing, which doesn't require voter assent. It gets people mad because they might say, why'd you do that? So that we can buy all of them at once and pay them off in 5 years, as opposed to doing one street 1 year and the next, and using that little bit of money every year to replace some. Interest rates, regional district we can get right now are still fairly low. So the things on my radar, not the super fancy programmable, at least not from the first estimates.
No, these are just sensors. My husband is actually, he's in town right now, and he's in manufacturer of street lighting, but I can ask him some recommendations.
It doesn't hurt, but it's cost. It was the basic light, not the super intense white. We don't need to be blinding everybody. We just need to have some good ambient light. And then could we buy them all in one shot? It may take a while to install them. And then how would we finance it?
So could you make sure that Ellen is up to speed on your proposal?
Ellen probably wasn't assigned it back when Willie and I were talking about this almost 2 months ago. But I can ask Willie, I'll see him tomorrow at the water services.
He indicated that he's taken over this. Yes, holidays.
So I can talk to Uli. Okay. But I think the key is the basic costs. And can we afford to get them all at once and get them, instead of doing one block at a time?
Yeah, I just got somebody was talking this morning actually about they put in 4 new lights in Ainsworth and they're really bright.
We had that before.
Yes.
Between the marina and putting hoods and shields and woodwork.
So if we can avoid problems in advance, our new lighting would be good. 7.4, insurance and fire protection. Yeah, this, I'm not sure, I haven't heard anything further about this. Nancy Schmaus called me, saying that, a couple of people she knew had their insurance rates raised significantly because, the insurance company considered that Riondel had been downgraded as far as their fire protection was concerned. But, we followed up with, uh, the fire department, and it all tied into the fact that there weren't enough volunteer firefighters. And that apparently is not true. So there's no reason that insurance shouldn't change here.
$2,000 more a year.
But like our insurance, my house insurance did not go up.
I did.
The Bluebell Manor, our insurance did not go up significantly. So if your insurance has gone up, there's something else going on. It's got nothing to do with the fire coverage in the town.
Carrie said it was fire coverage in the town.
Well, then you have to probably follow up with Carrie, and because everything here is fine.
I would be really surprised that somebody like Intact or some of those big insurance companies cares if the volunteer fire department staffed. It says we have a volunteer fire department, and that's probably what they're going to look at. It would really amaze me that a big insurance company would be going around and checking on staffing levels in fire departments.
Mine was Wananesa, and they are. Yeah.
So all of the underwriters want to know that they are facing apples and apples, reasonable risk for liability. So they formed something called the Fire Underwriter Society, or Service, Fire Underwriter Service. So they are an entity that's funded by the underwriters. They go around and systematically check a number of criteria. And I've sent some of this in email, but not everybody, and I've had a number of inquiries. So the very basic things are, you have a fire service, and the fire service isn't just the volunteers. And no, everything is not fun with the volunteers. I'll go into that step. But the fire service, you have to have personnel to provide a certain declared service level. So you can have exterior service, interior operations, or all. So here we are exterior operations only. The move, in which is one phrase is round and ground. You will not try to enter a house. You may think you're going to save lives, but the reality is that in rural areas, either the neighbors have helped somebody. We're not big apartment complexes. We're not high rises. We're not using ladder trucks. We're not using stairwells versus elevators. It's get to a door and get out. By the time generally they arrive with all the equipment, we're flash over quite often, and it's too late.
Yeah.
So now to have interior operations, you need at least 8 people on site, certain qualification. Entry team, 2 people, backup entry team, 2 people, incident commander, incident safety officer, upper operator, one other person. It eludes me right now. We don't have the number of people trained almost anywhere. We have in Preston Valley, because we use questions, semi-professional people who are looking for a better job in the city. So declared here, covered or declared service level is exterior operations. Yeah. And the idea is you would hope to save the block, but you don't expect you to save the house. So the fire department, its exterior operations is expected to have a certain number of people trained at a certain level because they're not all here all the time. To get there in time to do anything effectively to save the second, third, fourth strengths. You have to have certain equipment. You have to meet certain criteria. It's been evaluated. It's renewed every single year. You have a major approach. You have to have personal protective equipment. You have to have the building and everything to house it. Next set of criteria is water. You have to have a certain amount of water, certain pressure, certain flow. You have hydrants. You have to have certified every couple of years. You have to have what they call super shuttles, where you shuttle water back and forth. Don't need it for most of this, but we do have the main bumper and tanker or shuttle to move water. Well, so 40% is the haul, not just people, all the stuff. 30% of the valuation is the water. 20% is your procedures, protocol, standard procedures. 10% is your overall communication plan. So every haul is assessed internally by our underwriter service as they roll across the country. And they tended to do either whole provinces. A few years back, Saskatchewan was hammered with a lot of criticism. Normally, it's not that volunteers trained to a certain level. You saw Glade Ferry as a block for the fire service on towards Cassock, the rural area. These things come up continually as they do the assessments. The assessments are a snapshot in time. People come and go. So you might have 70 people trained to certain levels, somebody gets a job, moves away. Whatever happens, family brings up something. It's always in flux. Right now, we are not buying the desired level of volunteers trained at a certain level. So the exact numbers and some speaking to what we have, what can be done about it, how close we are. Dan Glenn will come to the September commission meeting and talk about it in more detail. A couple of pages of detail here. I'm not going to try and read. It's not a lot of use to me. How and when things are evaluated, that's one thing. FUS, that's their job. That's what they're paid to do. What particular underwriter offers or broker recommends, that's a private business decision. So we are in a bit of a limbo right now, is the best thing to say.
I used to be a commercial property underwriter for an insurance company, and they will change their guidelines and what their recommendations are. They will change, and probably because of the wildfires throughout BC. And this is my understanding from what Carrie told me as well. And she said everybody's insurance is going to go up because of this, and it doesn't matter what company.
You don't expect it to go down broadly because of
Yeah.
We see a big push on fire smarting your home and fire smarting the community. There's also a portal to register for fire smarting a home or a community.
Yeah.
And some people are afraid to do that because the word that then will become a test. It's like if you give your DNA for free and you get this interesting little report about your origin ancestry, that's a medical record. A potential medical record future employers may look at and say, oh, we don't want you. You'll work for us for 15 years and then next you're having major medical issues. We'd be a liability. Some people aren't willing to share, disclose the personal information about the risk of their property. But we're going to see it probably in the next decade become a standard of some sort. So the other thing about a fire service, the regional district does not have to provide a fire service. We can flare a level, we maintain, whether it's exterior, interior, or all operations. The biggest impediment always is recruitment. And people may not understand, you cannot possibly afford, regardless of which insurance they go to, a full-time professional fire service in a small community like this. They're not going to attract and pay people what they will be paid in Calgary or Toronto or Richmond. For the full complement, you cannot, never will afford it. Insurance costs aside. So if volunteers don't step forward, that's where you start to see the recruitment. And it's continuous. So we're going to use this opportunity, I think, to stress that it's critical that people who are able to get that training, make themselves available, is absolutely critical to getting that insurance deduction. That's just one thing a fire service may provide you. An insurance deduction. The other thing it provides you, ambulance lift assist, first responder, emergency situations, road rescue, vehicle extrication, stabilizing vehicles going over the cliff so people don't roll down the hill with it, whether they get out or not. All of the other services they provide are very core basic services that we want society residents to have. But there's no guarantee you're going to get an insurance reduction unless people step up. And that's got to be understood broadly across the entire community because you will not get a paid professional service.
But the point I was making, that there doesn't seem to be an across the board significant increase in insurance rates.
Carrie spoke as if there was.
Because mine was renewed in the middle of the summer, the man was renewed with, you know.
My daughter was a month ago, not a big increase.
Yeah, so
down the end of the block
Yeah.
last year.
So that's something to be aware of. And to this point, the fire call here has not put any kind of urgent call out for volunteers.
I was
Well, I was just talking to my son, he was saying, and they talked about insurance at the meeting yet? Because he was saying the fire chief was saying that they were short about 13 volunteers. There's 2 local volunteers that are really local, like right in Riondel. And the fire chief was saying something to the effect that we needed another 13.
It's 14. I was talking to Nancy Schmaus on Sunday, and the problem is that we don't have enough volunteers yet, right? But the volunteer number here is 14.
Not in Riondel's.
Yes.
Not in Riondel.
Yes, this
No.
he was talking about. She said Corey Medhurst told her it was 14.
Some of them live in property.
Yeah, they've got the big great peak and everything. There's only 2 in Riondel.
So I think, I mean, we need
We need to know.
get because there's, like, I'm totally unaware that there's any kind of
Yeah.
crisis or
Yeah,
urgency here.
and she said Corey Medhurst said that there is this procedure to go through. They can't change it to 15 without going through this procedure. And he said it's a matter of paperwork, is what she was finding out
So
when she was
Jan-
talking to Corey.
Dan Seguin is the fire chief here.
Dan is an acting regional fire chief.
So, and he will
And-
come to the September meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I talked to him on the phone 10, 12 days ago when this flared up a bit. Been in some communication with Corey, lots of numbers floating around. So he's the acting regional fire chief. He's also his main job, general manager, fire and emergency management services. Dan has been here and on this fire service. He's been in the upper in the fire service. He's trained, he knows the ropes, he knows all the details, he knows the people. Without trying to read 2 pages, and it's not entirely appropriate,
Yeah.
we'll come and talk to the team today for so many fire services is the number of volunteers. You still have a fire service. Yeah, you're at risk of not having that deduction on your insurance.
He said it's going to take effect in September.
I don't know.
So,
what she
can
said.
we can put this on our agenda?
Yeah, if you would expect, Dan.
Because this might, this
I think-
definitely can't like interest, you know, whatever is happening.
If you need people to train the fire quicker run, then we're not talking next week or next month
I know.
if you start.
Yeah.
So, it is fire season. We have evacuation alerts in Oakland and north of the lake here. We have a lot of other risk spots. This is being looked at, conversation with fire underwriter survey now. But, Stan, if he'd come to this meeting, he said, let him get a little more information on the training and progress, exactly where everybody's at, with better information in September. So too late, too early. This is the issue that I'm worried will hit for fire services. Because FUS moves its attention around the country and the attention's here. They also may have done some of the information gathering from Port some time ago. And then it sits and then they do their evaluations later. So these are all snapshots. They may be
Yeah.
based on different sets of data.
Well, she told me that Terry told me that I was not the only one affected. Nancy said that there's lots of people affected by this. Yeah, and my insurance is going up $2,000 a year.
So does yours renew in September then?
Yeah.
Okay,
September
so there might be like critical, you know, there might be a difference.
So no, that's a commercial and business decision of private companies. Just for information, you know, my house is good size.
Mhm.
But when we ran the B&B, and we ran it for years, for 16 of those 12 years now, 16 years since we closed it. Our insurance was $5,000. Insurance is near $4,000. No, if you're not on the commercial building insurance, lots of people pay $3,000-4,000 for house insurance, but they live in this apartment residence. It's not unusual. So this community, the volunteers who stepped up for decades, has had a very beneficial position, and you might be in transition until the community members step up again. But if they don't step up, that could be a thing of the past. That is the message that is got to be conveyed to the whole.
It'd be good to have Dan here. So do we call him a delegate then, or?
Well, no, he's not really a delegate. He's staff. So okay, so it'd be an agenda item.
Okay, so we'll put that out. Good,
That was
thanks,
very
Gary.
educational, actually.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 7.5, I had a phone call here at the office from a resident asking about help dealing with invasive plants by his yard or in his yard. I think he said bindweed, but I didn't write down exactly what the plant was.
It's easy to get rid of.
I'm not sure that was it. Anyway, I asked Gary prior to this meeting if he knew contact, and he said that there is the Central Kootenai Invasive Species Society that is, addressing this issue. So I thought I would pass that on to the resident that requested the information. I thought there was maybe something out there that dealt with invasive plants, and that looks like they're based out of Cranbrook.
I don't know if Lori Carr's in Cranbrook or Nelson.
Oh, okay.
I think she's in Nelson. They have a huge program. They get provincial funding because the province used to have, weed control officers through ag ministry, and then highways did aggressive weed control.
Yeah.
And they just dropped off, and then we decided to fund this society as their revenue. You do still see highway weed control in Windham, still pretty good there. Every once in a while, the little signs go up.
We have Japanese water tanks.
So, Lori Carr has the lists and can say what's a priority for the province. And they do have programs where they go and help people, and they also have these community activity things where they go and practicing in the wetlands, trying to blanket over top of the little butters and stuff like that, or to catch the American bullfrogs, which are the all leopard. So there's all the different programs they have. So it may or may not fit into one of the programs.
Thanks. We don't have any correspondence for the meeting. So Gary.
Wanted to just give what update I had on the fire. I had a question of curiosity because we have an opportunity on water licensing, water use. The Minister for Water, Lands and Resource Stewardship is going to be in the Kootenays in the next couple of days. Thursday afternoon, I'll have a chance in Nelson to sit down with Minister Randy Neal and talk about some of these water licensing issues. And then Friday, we're going to have an in the field meeting and conversations, conversations Friday. It's more about agricultural water versus residential consumption versus water for ecosystem restoration. And trying to get a few messages where I think we balance. I'm just curious if anyone here can recall, was it 3 or 4 years? I didn't send Mark an email, 3 or 4 years to get the license to be able to draw water from the lake for the golf course irrigation. Was it as long as 4 years?
It was a long time. So yeah, 3 or 4 years ago.
So I'm going to use this community as a bit of an example. Why does this matter? If they take that long, because we continue to put additional stress on water treatment plant, which is not just critical for potable water supply, but is also critical for keeping the fire reservoir level, because we have a level of water. Now, interconnected it is. And the province saying, well, we're way behind and have a backlog, really truly isn't good. This is a good example for how years earlier, we probably have an irrigation system in place if they knew they had the license and went on with the fundraising and just pushed ahead. Instead, you 4 years, just like that. These other systems and farm areas and stuff like that, the same issues. The longer your length, brighter it is, more people who will not be able to produce food that's local, doesn't have to be trucked from Mexico or California. Makes no sense not to take advantage of what we have, great soil. And the longer you delay it, and tell farmers they're educating our Ministry of Agriculture now has programs to teach you how to dry farm, dry things, produce things. It just makes no sense. If we have water in one place, we need to talk about long-term capital investment. It creates a food production that pays it back. There's a lot of talk about billions for critical minerals and billions for natural gas or oil pipelines, billions. Well, we may be the hundreds of millions here and there scattered across these southern BC, wherever, to increase food productivity, which will pay back probably sooner in these mega projects. Certainly get done faster. So this kind of message I want to put out. I don't have much of a handle on local farming. Very few people are trying to hay, but there's a shortage of feed in one of areas. I talked to my colleague in Boundaries. She's all the way from, it's like all the way down through Rock Creek and down towards, but not as far as Grand Forks. They can't finish their cattle because they haven't got enough hay. So you make all your money from the last tons, can't afford the hay. So you're sending your cattle, you finish in feedlots, now burning someone else makes some money. Big commercial operation. Some of the feed that they have been producing in Boundary Country is being bought by the Okanagan because they have the same problem. And it's further to truck their cattle. And that problem even has happened in our own backyards. You know, some couple in the area that was that's 15 or so at a cattle, not a lot, but small family business. Hay is becoming unaffordable. The Creston Flats, they get 4 cuts easy in a year for their body. In Canyon Lister, no way. We had the moisture, and we can start. That's just one little part of the food chain we can support. Anybody with stories of anybody along the way that's trying to small farm operation, I know most of them have found them.
Yeah, I only know Paul Wimber. He was a kid.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a few families that all over North. Families that while we will keep animals in small operation, we're losing. You need the Creston Valley market for small farmers, small operations. In order for anyone niche possibly make it, you need those connections for farmers market, retail, sales, transporting animals. You need that connectivity. This is very dismaying to me to see how we have so much water replacing years of delay. And it's jobs and food.
And it's interesting here, when the heat started to hit here, and people started watering their lawns, reservoir went down to 20%. Just, and so now we're on level 2, and it's fine now. I'm pretty sure it's still, there's no excess water here.
Most important would be able to water your garden, at least.
If you're growing vegetables in particular.
Yeah, well, there's still windows to water.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good enough on my lawn. Pretty much.
You know where my place is. The bottom grass is green all year. Through the winter, get 2 inches of snow, it melts. The top is bone dry, golden, dry and dormant. It's rock up top, and it's bottom moisture down below. Just let nature
Here
wants to do.
Here mine is just dry all the way down.
The water issues in the next month or two, see if we can put a push on it, not actually here, and eventually there's got to be done. Farmers. One of the major landowner families down in the Western Valley is sitting bankruptcy and plan to start. That's a bad thing when you see the cost of everything you truck from somewhere else is going up. Places where trucking don't have enough water to supply their own people or fight their own fires. We need to put a push on water here, access to the water.
Good, thanks, Gary.
Mhm.
Time, we do have an observer voting. I said earlier on we didn't have public, we actually do have somebody out there. So observer, this is your chance to speak up if you wish to do so. for the end of the meeting?
Oh, we should check in case sometimes you get out. No, nothing there.
Okay. Nope, I'm not hearing anything. So, our next meeting will be on September 1st.
Oh, wow.
And thanks everyone for coming out. Summertime is always tricky, but, good.
Okay,
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And, thanks to Alana Jenkins who stepped in because Evan's not feeling well right now. He's up on leave. So thanks, Alana.
Yeah.
Hope it wasn't too hard.
Hello from Balfour.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good night.